Hey there, MJ traders and investors. It's Rod with POW Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Tuesday, November 28th, and in this video, we're going to be discussing German lawmakers reaching an agreement and a vote that is going to be scheduled and expected for next week. We're going to discuss all of that and more. Spoiler alert, though, it did get better. So this was postponed, and it's actually making everything more improved, which I don't think a whole lot of people expected that. Before we get to it though, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. I would appreciate it. And make sure to subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or whenever I go live. As I mentioned, the vote is expected next week, and we're going to go through the details here. Before we get to all that and more though, make sure to smash the like I said, and then share the video with your network. I would appreciate it very much. I really do love each and every one of you who've supported me along the way. Also, you can follow us over on X, which is formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So here is the article. It was from yesterday, reported from MJ Moment. So German lawmakers reach agreement on revised MJ legalization bill with final vote expected next week. So we'll go through some key highlights here. The lawmakers have reached an agreement to revise the MJ legalization bill, relaxing certain provisions that were challenged by MJ reform supporters and setting the stage for a final vote in the national parliament next week. And we know that the charts are really starting to heat up, and it's looking like we could see a massive few months ahead for the MJ space. And we know that rescheduling's on deck as well. I just did a video about that. Yesterday was the 90 days, so that ended up being false about the 90-day time frame. If you haven't seen that video, you can check it out. But slowly but surely, we're starting to see the tides change. Advocates were disappointed when the planned vote in the Bundestag was postponed last week. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. But there's renewed optimism that the legislation, as agreed upon by the Traffic Light Coalition, will advance, with legalization proposed to come into effect next spring. A Green Party lawmaker, Kristen Kappert-Gonther, said on Monday that the following intensive negotiations, following intense negotiations, the bill is being changed in several key ways that will make the law even better, according to the translation. In the negotiations, we managed to find practical regulations that guarantee the protection of young people and health that make the decriminalization of adult consumers a reality, she said. For example, possessing slightly more MJ than allowable amount will not be automatically treated as a criminal offense, so that is good, punishable by jail time. Instead, possession of between 25 and 30 grams will be considered an administrative violation. Similarly, the possession limit for homegrown MJ will be increased from 25 to 50 grams, with the same administrative violation stipulation applied to possession of between 50 and 60 grams. The rules of public consumption are also being revised. So the bill now says that people cannot publicly use MJ with eyesight of a school within a 100-meter minimum distance. As R&D and Legal Tribune Online reported, the limit was previously 200 meters. They also further agreed to stagger the implementation of the reform, making possession and home cultivation legal for adults beginning in April. Social clubs that could distribute MJ to members could now start to open in July. Other revisions departed with the theme of loosening restrictions, so negotiators agreed to adopt a change that would strengthen criminal penalties for underage sales, for instance. So obviously, selling to minors, a very, very big concern and should be punished. It should be a very big punishment, right? We know that that's the same goes for anything like with regards to, tobacco or alcohol, right? If you are doing that, you have no place, there's just no place for it, right? Officials are also planning to introduce a complementary second measure down the line that would establish pilot programs for commercial sales in cities throughout the country. That legislation is expected to be unveiled after its submission to the European Commission for review. After next week's vote, it's expected to be several months before the bill is taken up in the Bundesrat, a separate legislative body that represents German states. Members of the Bundesrat tried to block the proposed reform in September, but ultimately failed. The Bundestag, meanwhile, had previously already delayed its first debate on the legislation, which was held last month, ostensibly due to conflict in Israel and Palestine. Germany's federal cabinet approved the initial framework for the legalization measure late last year, but the government wanted to get sign-off from the EU to ensure that enacting the reform wouldn't put them in violation of international obligations, right? So there was something I read about that as well, that in the US, they can't just deschedule it because there's certain treaties and things like that with other countries. So they'd have to amend certain parts of that. So it's not just as black and white or as clear cut as you would think. So that's why I think rescheduling to Schedule 3 is the most likely in the US, and I think we'll get that soon. But the fact that they got sign off from the EU is telling us that the times are changing, right? And we're starting to see more and more major countries like the G20s, like look at Canada as a leader, right? And as we know, the US is never first but never last, and I've got something I want to mention with regards to the US as well. But later on in the article, it talks about the US meeting with them, and then members of the German administration going to visit different businesses in the US. So we're starting to see kind of, people starting to lock arms and work together here on this. And usually we start to see other countries as testing grounds, right? Look what happened during C-19. Look what happened in the crypto space. It never starts with the United States, right? They're never first, but they're never last. And that's because they can be in the middle of the pack, right? Because once they adopt something, they'll leapfrog them. But it's great that we see Germany coming online. The rest of the EU will do so before, I would say probably before the US legalizes at the federal level. And then, like I said, that'll be used as a testing ground, right? So let's go through here. Government officials from multiple countries, here it is here. Government officials from multiple countries, including the US, also met in Germany last week to discuss international MJ policy issues as the host nation works to enact legalization. So again, we're starting to see, more countries come together and they're working together. Like I said, Canada, we're over 5 years legal now at the federal level. And all of these other, G20 countries, they have the blueprint, they have the framework, and they have lots of data now to go off of, right? And there was a study that was published today as well that said that people who are using MJ post-legalization, adult use legalization, we're starting to see numbers drop off on consumption of alcohol as well. Alcohol and tobacco, I believe it was. So again, it's medicine of the future, right? It's not only, is it a recreational, is it a great recreational alternative to alcohol and tobacco, it's also got medical properties, right? It helps with sleep, it helps with epilepsy. There's so many different benefits that we're finding each and every day. And that's why I always continue to say medicine of the future. So the group, and also a group of German lawmakers, as well as Narcotic Drugs Commissioner Burkhard Bleinert, separately visited the U.S. and toured California MJ businesses last year to inform their country's approach to legalization. So it's kind of funny. We're not even, the U.S. isn't even legal yet federally, but yet, you've got German lawmakers and commissioners coming here, or well, coming I'm in Canada, but coming to the U.S., coming to North America to see how businesses operate. So again, it's that crawl, walk, run approach. And like I said, the US is very, very slow moving, and quite often they like to see other countries adopt it first as a testing ground, and then they start to roll out slowly after that, and then leapfrog everybody based on the sheer economic powerhouse that they are, right? So this is great to see, again, that we're starting to see the dominoes fall, game theory playing out. Once one country, once one state does it, we now have 24 states that are adult use legal, adult use in the US. Just a matter of time before that's every single state, and then eventually, all of these states will enact laws and legislation, and then the feds they'll have no other choice but to get on board, right? So, as I mentioned in my video yesterday, this will only ever happen once. Do not F this up because you have emotions, right? Leave your emotions at the door, and this will only ever happen once. Our children's children are going to look back and wish that they were here during this legalization. The world will only legalize this plant and this medicine of the future once. And again, I reiterate, do not F this up, because this is literally a lifetime, once in a lifetime opportunity, generational wealth that we can accumulate here for our children and our children's children. So the visit came about 2 months after top officials from Germany, Luxembourg, Malta, and the Netherlands held a first-of-its-kind meeting to discuss plans and challenges associated with recreational MJ legalization. So mark my words, over the next few years, MJ is going to be at the absolute spotlight. This is going to be MJ's time to shine over the next few years. Mark my words. Leaders of the coalition government said in 2021 that they had reached an agreement to end MJ prohibition and enact regulations for a legal industry as they first previewed certain details of that plan late last year. A novel international survey that was released last year also found that majority support for legalization in several key European countries include Germany. So obviously, we're expecting massive, I think Germany's going to be a massive market. We're expecting other countries to follow suit as well in the EU, and then eventually the US. The US could reschedule removal of 280E. We have so many catalysts on the horizon, right? Thailand, I think like 6,000 MJ shops opened up. Just goes to show the pent up demand there and the interest in this sector. And then, like I said, Canada's just over 5 years young here, and we're still not even really catching up with all of the US. In the US, they have 100 milligrams per pack. Here, it's still 10 milligrams. So there's a petition going around to increase that from 10 to 100 to combat the illicit market. And that's really how the black market is thriving right now, is through different edibles and concentrates and things like that, right? So we're starting to see more and more, Florida could be on the ballot as well. We have Pennsylvania, Ohio coming online. There was also a lawsuit that was settled yesterday with regards to New York. And they were blocking certain licenses and things like that. So we're starting to see everything kind of fall in line here all at one time and simultaneously. There's never been a better time to be, an MJ investor, in my opinion. And like I said in yesterday's video as well, with the 90-day time frame, I never really cared. I didn't think there was any teeth behind that, and watch that video for my whole thoughts and opinions. But at the end of the day, my MJ portfolio and game plan is not dependent on time. It doesn't matter if it happens today, tomorrow, yesterday, a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now. It's only ever going to be legalized once, and I'm just buying and holding and waiting until I'm enticed to sell. Until I have a short-term account, a long-term account. I won't be selling a single MJ share until US legalizes at the federal level. In my shorter-term account, I have take profit levels, right? So for example, Tilray, I'll be taking profit at $10. I won't sell a single share before $10 USD. And then every $5 increment from there, I will unload some of my Tilray. But I have Tilray in a long-term account that I will not be selling until the federal government legalizes adult use, right, in the US, whether that be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. That account, and that helps me, deal with FOMO. It helps me deal with, if you sell something and it keeps going up, then you feel, you want to get back in, right? So these are all things that we can use to kind of tame our emotions, right? And then this was an MJ article here from MJ Business Times. The federal government continues to withhold key MJ scheduling recommendation letter despite FOIA requests, so Freedom of Information Act request, and a lawsuit. So I might do another video on this one separately later on, but like I said, next week could be a very big week for MJ, and we'll see how this comes out, how the vote results come out next week with regards to this legalization bill in Germany. And like I said, this is just a stepping stone to what's to come, right? And this is a huge milestone. This is what we needed. And like I said, it's just game theory playing out. Once one country, once one state, we're going to start to see more and more. It's just a matter of when, not if. And like I said, this is only ever going to be legalized once. So do not F this up. All right, going to end it there. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we shall see you again on the next video.